up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bad Catholic Dads podcast, episode number 23, our Jordan episode, as you may. Happy Eclipse Day, Derek. How's it going? I'm one of your hosts, John Perez, by the way, alongside the best dad in the business, Derek Rogers. How's it going, Derek?
I'm doing fantastic, man. My vision has not left me yet.
Oh, dude, we'll talk about that in a second. Joining us, special guest this week, a guy I look up to, my brother-in-law. Please welcome to the show, Ryan Estorninos. Yay!
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's an honor, and followed you guys. Followed you. I've been following your career since the early days of March, April.
Nice.
So it's a treat to be on tonight.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. How was your Eclipse Day? Did anything special happen at your work? We're all at work, right?
Yeah, it was like a work party on the roof. It was pretty packed and crowded. I guess it was fun, but then once you saw any kind of blockage, you've basically seen it all, unless you were in in the path. So I guess. I went up a couple times. I went like around 1:15 and about 1:45. It was pretty fun. It was hot up there, pretty crowded. How about you guys?
So did they call you out? Like, did they say, okay, it's time to get up here, and you guys all went on the roof, or how did that work out?
Like in our company messaging system, they said that we would be having a little party with glasses, and the rooftop would be open for everyone to view it. So basically, there was no productivity between 1 to 5 because after everyone got back, no one really wanted to work anyway. So what are you going to do? It was a struggle getting through the rest of the day.
Because how did you view it then, Ryan?
On the balcony, we have a rooftop and multiple balconies in our building.
Did you have what did you have? Did you have the special glasses? Did your work provide that, or how did you get that?
Well, I had a pair of my own, and I had brought it with me, and I shared it with some other coworkers on the roof. The company provided some, but they were all taken. So people were just being generous with one another. So it was fun.
That's pretty cool. What about you, John?
Oh man, I have a story for you guys. So as you guys know, I'm new to my job, right? So we had like orientation for all the teachers. All the teachers came back today, and we were in our religion department because that's where I'm in. And all the religion department teachers were like, especially this one of my coworkers, she was like super hyped about it. And so there's a door that leads right outside the classroom, and so she kept going out. She kept leaving and coming back, and then we all kind of went out there one by one, and I went out there, and I thought it was really cool. And then I got a little bit greedy, and so I kept looking at it for about 15 to 20 seconds.
Why would you do that?
First of all, I didn't actually know that. So when I read all these warnings about not looking into the sun directly, I thought it was without the glasses. Like don't look at the sun without glasses. You need glasses. But I didn't know you're technically not supposed to look at the sun even with the glasses on for long amounts of time.
You were at least squinting and blocking some.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, so I like look at it. I'm like, oh, that's really cool, and like I'm mesmerized by it. And 20 seconds later, I walked back in the classroom, and my eyes and my head just were like burning, like hurting really bad. And actually, they hurt it. Like my eyes, to be honest with you, hurt for like about 3 hours, I would say.
Oh my gosh!
You guys ever been to the doctor and they dilate your eyes, and that's what it like. That's basically what it looked like for like 3 hours straight. It was pretty bad. And I was actually scared. I was like, oh no, did I like permanently damage my?
I actually had a conversation with a coworker on the roof. I was recounting early stories of Revelation, and the sun turning as black as sackcloth, but it looked like a regular day. So I figure if it's gonna be the end of the world, it's just gonna look like a regular day. It was like, sun, like, is that it? I'm like, I thought it was supposed to be dark.
Yeah. Derek, how's yours? Did anything happen with the kids or anything like that?
Well, yeah, it was good because my family was still over. And
nice.
A few of the family members were still here. The Spearing family, because they had stayed for the finale. That last episode of Game of Thrones, and then they left right after it to be in the main. They went to Kentucky to go look at this thing. So I give them a lot of credit for taking the family trip like that, just to go do it with all the crazy people.
Did you hear back from them or no?
Not yet. I think they got assumed body and soul into heaven. I think that's what happens when you're in the direct path.
Yeah, that's true too.
And then so when we were here, I was just like, we couldn't find the glasses at 7-Eleven the other day. So, we looked online, and I went through my garage, and I found some cereal boxes and some smaller boxes, and I made one of those like viewfinders with the tin foil and the paper, and you put the pinhole. I was surprised at how effective that was. That was so cool. So we just had it outside. We kept having what's her face, Total Eclipse of the Heart song playing on repeat every dance.
Oh my
acoustic
gosh, yes.
remix. And we're like, well, this is gonna burn into our brain. And but it was cool. Like I had 3 of them made, and so like my brother, his girlfriend, Bethany was there. All the kids got to look at it. They loved it.
Yeah.
And it was pretty neat to just see this thing. It was underwhelming. It was really underwhelming.
Yeah.
But I
will say the first time you see it, it's a little bit. It's like, oh, this is really cool. Like, because we've never seen it. I think the last one was in 1979 or something like that. But it was pretty cool to see it. And after that, I was like, I'm done. Except for 20 seconds.
So it sounds like 2024 is the next one. So
2024. How old will our kids be?
In the U.S.?
In the U.S.
Yeah, in the U.S. it's gonna kind of drag through Ohio. It's like that same kind of path, like a crisscross kind of look from which one it was this year. But yeah, so what? 7 years?
7 years.
6, 7 years.
About 6, 7 years. Yep. All right. It's funny because I, right before we started the show, I was looking for guests. We're always looking for guests, right, Derek? Like we always pick some of our friends. We had Bobby Angel that one time, which was good. But there was one particular person I really wanted to get on this show. Which was my brother-in-law Ryan, because he has such an interesting story, and there's a lot there to unpack. And I thought this would be really great for other dads to listen to, but also other people who are in his situation as well. But before we get to that, we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? It doesn't have you don't have to take forever, but your kind of abbreviated life, your vocation story. How you met your wife, how many kids you have, etc.
All right, abbreviated. I'm in, obviously, like John said, my name is Ryan. I'm in my mid-30s. Mid-30s now, wow. So I'm in my mid-30s.
It goes by fast, man. It goes by fast.
It does. I've been working in digital marketing for about 7 years.
Oh.
As far as my vocation, I'm married. I have 2 kids. I met my wife. She was actually, we actually met each other through a singles renewal Catholic group. We were friends beforehand, and then we actually started singing together in our parish choir. Cool. We decided to take a chance on each other. 2 years later, we're married. A little less than a year after that, our firstborn, Joey, and 3 years after that, my daughter, Maggie. A year before my daughter was born, I found out that I had a really rare kidney disorder. Basically, my immune system is programmed to attack my kidneys and only my kidneys. And so my kidneys slowly started to fail. In 2014, on January 10, 2014, I found out that I had kidney failure, and I had 6 months to. I needed to get a transplant within 6 months, and 30 minutes later, I was laid off from my job.
Oh my gosh!
So
dude.
Obviously, being a young father, at the time I was the only one working. It was pretty terrifying, and I had a transplant in 2014, and unfortunately, that kidney is also failing. I'm currently on dialysis, but I still work full time. I do all my treatment at home. I go to the doctor a little more regularly. So that's kind of where I'm at now. That's the abbreviated version. Yeah.
Sure. Going back to, because I've known. We're looking at my son playing with a cord, about to electrocute himself. I've known you, pretty much my entire, since I've known my wife, and I know the story personally, but Derek doesn't, and I know other listeners don't know the story. Kind of. James, don't do it. Don't do it. Where's Joey, by the way?
I don't know. He bounced.
Pausing the show for a second.
Oh man. Okay. See, that's what happens, man. Live shows.
I can edit this
with
too.
Kids in the same room. That's that's
pretty crazy. Can you take us back to when you first found out about the kidney disorder? Where were you? And I'm sure you remember the moment, but what were your initial feelings what was your initial thought process when you first found out?
It was. I really don't remember how I felt. I just remember being confused because I was in my late 20s. So when you're in the late 20s, you feel indestructible, especially being a guy. You feel that you're never going to get sick. You're never going to break down. That's for old people. So what happened was it was actually roughly Valentine's Day 2012. I was watching TV with my wife, and I noticed that my legs were extremely swollen. And I was like, you know what? I have gained 60 pounds in 3 months. And I was like, I used to be.
Dude.
I was like 170 running races and going to the gym, running every day after work. I was trying to keep up, trying to keep in shape, and I figured I put on some weight and I didn't realize. I just thought it was just me being lazy and just putting on getting a dad bod. But I knew something was wrong, so I went to the doctor, and he did a blood. At first, I thought it was just high blood, but he made me pee in a cup, and then he said, "I'm going to send you to a specialist." And I had a biopsy done, and that's how they figured it out. But my initial feeling was, I'll be honest, I almost felt betrayed by God. I'm the kind of guy that did everything as far as I was concerned, by the book. I didn't live a very worldly single life. I had fun. I had fun with the guys. I was in college. Chased after girls, what have you. But I was never worldly. I thought that I lived my life as pure as possible. Saving myself for my wife, looking to be a good Catholic man, as it were. So when all that happened, it's like. I was like, "Come on, God! There are these guys that are jerks that tell me all these stories at work, and I just shake my head. It is what it is, to each their own and stuff. And here I am having this disease. I don't know if I'll be around to see my kids graduate from college and get married and stuff like that. So I'm freaking out. I'm feeling really betrayed, and that was initially my feeling and my cross to begin with.
Right.
How did your wife respond when she heard about that?
She was deeply concerned. I think of anyone, God bless her. She knows my suffering the most. She's the one that's most aware of how I feel. Like I can lie to other people about how I feel. I can hide how I feel in front of other people. But she's the only one that doesn't let it slip by. So from the beginning, she's always been the supportive one, always reminding me to ask for help when I need help. Because one thing about being a man, when you start to fall, you notice that you become a lot more stubborn. Because, at least from my point of view, I won't speak for all men, but I feel that, I should be the one to be. I should be able to take care of myself. I should be able to carry my family on my back, and it's not always going to be that way. And in hindsight, it was almost like God was speaking through her to remind me I need to let go and just trust Him and just let things happen.
Sure. Sure. You talked a little bit about it, especially, feeling a little bit betrayed, because you live this all, by the book kind of Catholic faith. I mean, obviously like other things happen, but did you ever, in what kind of ways, like, especially initially, right? You find out about the kidney disease and I mean, I'm pretty sure you find out it's incurable at first, or did they, like, how fast was the process of finding out, okay, from, my legs are swollen to, oh man, I have this incurable kidney disease?
Well, as you know, obviously, your mother-in-law, my mom, she's a nurse, so she stayed on top of it, and as did I, because I wanted to get to the bottom of it. I found out, like I said, around Valentine's Day in 2012. I had a biopsy by March, and then my results came in that month, and they assured me I didn't have cancer, but I had something different, and they recommended me to go to the NIH, the National Institute of Health, to try some experimental stuff. And I was under their care for a little less than a year, and I tried some experimental drugs that, it's debatable what kind of effect they had on me, but the disease accelerated. When I found out, when I was diagnosed, they told me that I had 15 years minimum before I would need a transplant. By the end of the year, it turned into less than 5 years, and then a year from there, it turned into 6 months. So it just snowballed big time.
You talked about your faith, and what I guess on a like a deep level, what would you say how your faith was affected during all this time, like especially being sick and kind of finding out everything happened? Like what would you say, like what was your faith life like? Like did you find that you were praying more because you already had that foundation, or did you kind of see yourself kind of pulling away to focus more on kind of treating everything?
You know how they talk about several stages of grieving?
Right. Yep.
So my initial thought process was, I'm going to beat this easy. And my faith was I felt that my faith, I could ride my faith, and whatever God has planned, I'm gonna make it through. Around the time that my treatment started, I lost my grandmother and my uncle and my great aunt within a span of 6 months. We had 3 deaths in a row. So I feel that my faith was really strong. It was more of I don't want to get preachy, but this is kind of what I'm thinking. You remember how Peter started off on the water and he was cool, like, oh, I'm walking on water.
Sure.
And then so that's kind of how it started off for me. I went and I there was a traveling relic show in Atlanta. Okay. It's called Treasures of the Church, and I really, to me, I felt like that was a calling. I need to see these relics. I want to be one with the saints in a physical presence in the same place as them and pray with them for my disease. I went to that. I did a whole bunch of novenas, and the disease kept progressing. So I was like, okay, God, you know what? I'm gonna take the suffering and lift it up to you. And it sounds fairy tale-ish. This guy, he's doing it the right way, but I'm human, and I get impatient. I'm like, I'm not getting any better. I'm getting older. My kid. I have a daughter that was just born. What am I gonna do? So I felt that I went from super faithful and proactive to slightly apathetic, which isn't great to say, and I'm not proud to say it, but my faith went from God, let your will be done to whatever. It is what it is, and I feel that was probably getting my worst because I started separating myself from my friends and kind of becoming a hermit. Not because I didn't want to see anybody, but it took the life out of me and I lost drive. It wasn't until after my transplant I still kind of felt weak and disconnected from everybody. Not the body of Christ, not from the church, and not from the sacraments. I mean, I still had my struggles in terms of getting to where I wanted to be, but I was always at a place where, God, may your will be done. But then it wasn't until the last couple of years, I think, with obviously Jon and my sister getting married and having kids, and my kids growing up, and I don't want to miss this. I want to live my life. I want to stop living in a hole.
Sure.
And trying to protect myself, air quotes,
sure,
from things that I feel are bringing me down. So I kind of made a conscious effort to resume the let your will be done, but also live life and enjoy what I have, but still fight for what I still want in life. Because I feel fighting for what you want is great as far as the healing process goes.
Sure.
I'm curious with, you said you were laid off like shortly after you had received this news, right? Is that what you said?
Like instantly, like within an hour.
So that was not connected with each other, correct?
No, it was a grand evil corporate scheme that was in the works. They had no, like, I kind of kept my disease to myself at work.
Yeah, but how? I mean, it's one thing to be receiving this news of like, my health is like struggling right now, and like you're going through this, deep introspective, like soul searching, and then you lose your job. I would think at that point it would be a little bit tough for me to even, have any semblance of thought process like you're having, where you're able to deal with that. At which point did you like, I can't even worry about this job thing right now? Did that come up? Like, how did you focus on what you had to do? Like, even with getting a job again or anything like that, like how did you maintain focus?
I'll be honest with you. It was actually reversed. I was more concerned about bringing in the bread than getting better. I mean, I was like, I'll work myself to the bone. If it, I can't, I felt irresponsible, which I found out later on, also from my wife and talking to her after the fact, that may not have been the best thing for me. It's like, I feel like, I guess looking at it now, I feel like I had a Job moment also, minus losing your entire family.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was a refining moment for me, because like I told you before, I was gung ho. I'm gonna beat this thing. God's on my side, rah rah. But I think that was when I was truly refined, because I think that's when I was broken down to my lowest. The day that Jon proposed to Fatima, I was a wreck. We we had dinner after he proposed, I couldn't stay because I needed to get home and lie down because I was just feeling awful, and that's basically how I felt that entire year. I would get tired. John's recording at my house, so my kids are invading too. Oh no!
It's okay. There may be a lot of kids around. It's cool. It's the Bad Catholic Dads podcast, not the Best Catholic Dads podcast.
So, I feel that's where I feel that's where God humbled me. I think we're humbled when we're humiliated. So I mean, I say humiliated not in like I got a pie thrown on my face. Oh no!
Yeah.
But I was literally stripped down naked as a man, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know where I'm headed. I don't know what's, that summer. I've never been that helpless. I've never needed other people to help me just to do daily tasks. Yeah. It was really difficult.
Do you find it these are two cliches, where it's like you hit rock bottom and there's like nowhere to go but up, and is that, that sounds like that's the case because it sounds like this was like a godsend for you to lose your job at the same time this happened then? Is that a fair assessment or not?
It is a fair assessment. I needed to heal. I would have worked myself to death literally, and that's happened on more than one occasion, where I have come very, very close to something almost fatal because of my stubbornness to provide over healing. And I think I'm almost getting. I feel like God's talking to me right now as we speak. And sometimes I in retrospect now, and I think it's still ongoing because I'm still sick, but I think God wants you to heal before he wants you to improve your life. It's sort of like he wants you, I feel for me, like I'll speak for myself, that he wants me to come to him, and he wants me to completely abandon, I guess, all predispositions that I had in terms of I got this, because I think the sin I was sinning was the sin of pride. And that was probably the weight that was pulling me into the water. Of course, like Peter, he never lost focus of Jesus. He just started thinking about other things, and that's why he started to sink. And I feel with me, it wasn't a mistake for me to look to God, but I was also, I wasn't letting go of what was holding me down.
I have this quote I wrote down, especially in our show notes, right? Like I sent them both to you. We talk about a saint who suffered with Saint Bernadette, right? Teaches us that suffering gives us the opportunity to go in one of two directions, bitter or better, right? In response to the suffering, people either become bitter and think thoughts such as this isn't fair, or why does this have to happen to me, or I hate my sufferings. In your personal life, or in with the disease and with everything, have you come to terms with it? Like, are you I know, especially at first, I'm sure it was like really hard, but now we're looking back, like how it's been like what 2-3 years now. How 5 years? Wow, 5 years now. Wow. Have you personally come to terms with it, and with living with it? Or
I have now. Like when I started dialysis, so I do dialysis at home, and that's every single night. So I hated it to death because that means at any given point I would miss 12 to 8.5 hours of the day being connected to a machine. And granted, most of it is at night while we're sleeping, but in most cases I'm not able to do certain things that most dads would love to be a part of, like bath time, story time. Sometimes if there's no school or work the next day, or my schedule allows for it, it's not a problem where I can help out with these things. But generally, I don't have the luxury. I feel that I'm a burden on my wife because she does all that work by herself if I have work the next day. Sure. And last year, I really didn't accept that. I hated it. I told my doctors there's got to be another way. There obviously wasn't. If you're going to live, you have to do this every day. And so I accepted it. I learned how to live with it. Last year, I didn't want to travel. I didn't want to go anywhere. This year, I've actually taken a couple trips, and I feel that I'm living my life with it because it's supposed to help me live my life to the fullest. So I've decided that right now this is my life. So make the best of it, and that's kind of that's the way I want to look at it right now. So have I come to terms with it? No, because I want to heal. The Father Dan Leary, who some of you guys may know, he asked me, "Do you want to be healed?" And I told him, "Yes, I do." So obviously, no, but am I living with it? No, with a caveat that I'm living my life now, but I do want to heal.
Can you explain the process of like what the dialysis does help with and what you actually have to go through?
Because absolutely.
I don't know that much about it, so I'm just curious.
So there's two types of dialysis. There's hemodialysis, which is in the blood, and you have to go to a center twice a week for that, or 2 to 3 times a week for that. I do something called peritoneal dialysis. So 2 years ago, I had a catheter surgically implanted into my abdomen. Mm-hmm. And what it does is every day when you consume food, when you drink drinks, there are toxins in there that go into your blood. And what your kidney does is it filters it out. Obviously, my kidney doesn't work. So in my case, what happens is my abdomen is filled with a large amounts of sugar water. And as the blood is circulated through my body, it sucks the toxins out into the sugar water, and then I empty it out and I refill it with sugar water. So it kind of does the filtration for me. If I had hemodialysis, what it would be intravenous. So the blood would actually be cleaned by a machine physically. So in a way, this is the closest I can get to natural kidney functionality.
Okay.
So, and it lets me do it at home. So I'm not stuck.
Does it hurt, or is there any pain with that you have to deal with while you're going through it, like for those hours?
Sometimes. When I first started, it literally felt like my insides were being wrung like a towel.
Oh my gosh.
So after a while, you get used to it. But I mean, the one thing that sucks is when I get on the machine, I start getting drowsy because my body is. It's kind of like you go and you're in reboot mode, and your body is kind of resetting. So then I kind of reset with it. So that just puts me out of commission with the kids. Mm-hmm. So, and it's been tough. Like I'm not shy to admit this, but I've had to sleep in a different room from my wife for the past year and a half because of the machine. I'm actually gonna move back into our bedroom.
Nice.
It was mainly because my daughter and my son slept in our room too.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't have that many people. But if it's just me and my wife, it's not that many different, I guess, germs floating around because it has to be as sterile as possible.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to tell you about the side effect. That could happen.
Awesome. We have some. My son's trying to. I don't know if he'll be okay. We have some listener questions here I want to get to. I know we're not. I don't want to. It feels like we're cheating in this podcast by running out of time, but we are kind of running out of time, right? Because you have to get to dialysis by 9 or something.
We can stretch it a little bit.
Okay. The first question, and you kind of answered a little bit in your when you were talking, but what is your typical daily schedule like with in-home dialysis?
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll start from the morning. So around 6:30. I wake up and I see that the thing is complete. So then I have to sanitize the cord before I disconnect it because they're different like disease. They're like different germs that are on your body. So then I have to sanitize the cord. Then I have to disconnect the cord. That takes a process about 2 minutes. And then that comes. Then I have to break down like all the waste in the machine. I dump that stuff in the sink or toilet, clean up, take a shower. If the summertime, so I get ready for work, kiss my wife and kids goodbye, and I head off to work. Get home around 6:30 ish, and then I do a manual dialysis cycle. So I do 2 forms of dialysis: machine, which is overnight, and manual, which is on an IV pole. So I'll do that, which is the same process except it's not with a machine. So I do that, and that lasts about 45 minutes, and then have dinner with the kids. I beat my son in PlayStation.
That's right.
After we sit down and go over his piano, because he still has piano over the summer. Around 9-ish, I'll start making my way back upstairs, and I have to carry 40 to 50 pounds worth of solution, of like bags of sugar water to my room. The setup process takes 30 minutes. It's like a sterile process, and then I have to sterilize my cord. I plug in, and then it starts draining me. I'm literally Darth Vader overnight. I need to regenerate overnight.
Yeah.
So that's usually, in a nutshell, that's how it goes.
Is this the preferred way to do it? Is this the option that your doctor was like, okay, this might be the best for you, especially being at home?
Well, I'm the youngest patient in my clinic, so they knew that I wanted to maintain as active a life as possible, and so and hemodialysis takes a lot more. There's more restrictions. I have no dietary restrictions, so I can eat whatever I want.
Okay.
So this was obviously what I wanted to go with.
I have a question here. What served or continues to serve as consolation for you during difficult times of uncertainty, as there is still no known cure for your disease? So basically, what continues or what serves as your consolation, especially you knowing that this isn't curable at this moment?
There aren't really any consolations, but I'm generally pretty open about my disease. So I guess my consolation is trying my best to educate people about it. And if you didn't know me, you wouldn't know I'm sick. Generally, I have a really good ability. I have a great ability to hide how I feel. And if there's anything, I want people to know that even if you're sick, you can still live your life. There are a lot of people I'm inspired by that have even worse diseases, have cancer, have malignant. Well, I'm not a medical guy, but just have really bad diseases, and they're still able to do different things. And that's the example I want to set. Like if I can't be healed, I can be an example, or I can set an example for other people that are suffering. You can suffer with dignity, and you can suffer in silence, but you can still live your life.
The next question that we had was, how has this changed your relationship with your wife, your kids, and even God? So those important relationships, have you found that it's changed? And I'm really curious on how it is with your children, and how they react to this.
Well, starting with my wife, it hasn't changed anything, but it's strengthened. In a way, it's made me trust her even more. Obviously, I trusted her implicitly, but the fact that I don't have I'm not as capable as I could be if I wasn't sick, forces me to rely on her, and in a way that's not I can't find the word. In a way that's not, it takes her toll on her, but she would prefer me to rely on her. So it's almost like till death do us part, for better or for worse. We really come to understand that line, and when we're going through bad times, we're like, we've been through worse, we'll be fine.
Sure.
With my kids, we've actually been successful because they know I'm sick, but they don't really get it. And as far as I'm concerned, until they're older, if they don't know what I'm going through, then that's more than half the battle won. I don't want them to think that anything's different. I mean, they know that Daddy does his medicine every night. I have my machine, but they don't get it. They don't know that I'm sick. And that's kind of the way I want to keep it. My son helps me with tasks. I'll need him to get things for me up and down the stairs while I'm sitting in front of my machine and I can't leave the environment. And he'll get things for me and he'll help me out. And he's responsible like that. And I think that at least for him, it's taught him a little bit of responsibility, and it's teaching him to help his parents, and that we need him too. And I'm proud of the way that he's handled it, and he still doesn't really have an idea of how sick I am.
They don't know the extent of it, but they do know something is up, or it's more of just it's just because you've been doing it for so long, it's just kind of like a routine that they think that you go through.
Yeah, I mean, when the situation arises, their mom reminds them that I'm sick, and that we need their cooperation and their help in certain ways because we can't do certain things. So they know that much. But like you said, they don't know the extent of the disease.
Sure.
And then the final part of that question was, how is your relationship with God? I know you kind of briefly touched on it, but in kind of in the same vein of the last two, with your wife and kids, how is the relationship with God?
That's a hard one to, because it's never. Oh, you guys got me with a good one. It's in reality, it's okay. It's kind of routine right now, and I'm ashamed to say that, but it's routine in a good way where I've never abandoned my faith. I just haven't taken it to the next step. But that's something that I'm currently working on. I've told my wife, I need to find a way to serve, because I haven't been serving and doing extracurricular things for the church because I had the
It's difficult.
Yeah, it is. I have fewer hours in the day than most people because of what I do, and but we're probably gonna get back into music ministry in our parish. Little things like that. My job situation might change, and that might make way for me to be able to volunteer a lot more. There's like a homeless guy that I've befriended at work. He like lives outside my building, and if you follow me on Instagram, I've gotten to know him, and that's been a blessing to me. And little things like that, and I feel that God is calling me still, and I'm like Samuel, I guess. Like I'm in that tent, and he's calling my name, and he's not relenting, even though I haven't stepped on the gas. Like the sacraments are always there. I go to confession regularly. I go to mass every week, every Sunday, and I go to daily mass as often as I can, and I try to pick up novenas here and there. But I don't want to be habitual Catholic. I want to be a Catholic who lives his life in various ways, and that's why I said, that's what I meant. Like, it's kind of routine, like not like just a Sunday Catholic, end of story. But, I kind of have like unfortunately as Catholics, sometimes we do fall into routines because we're very organized and well oiled. So that it turns out that way sometimes for some of us.
Yeah, you were speaking of Samuel, and that kind of ties in with our next question is, with Samuel, needing to listen and hear, like, what should like our response? So us dads that don't have, a cross to bear like this. So when we hear of stories like yours, Ryan, what do you feel like our response is to this? Because when I hear your story, I feel like, why has God given me this opportunity where I do have this extra time, and am I putting enough effort into things that I have the opportunity to? Like, what should our response be when we hear about, I don't have this cross that you're bearing right now? Like, what should my response be to when I hear something like this?
I would just say pay up. God doesn't want physical currency, or he doesn't want our riches, but I think out of everything, I think it's time. And the reason I say time is because I have less of it, not because I'm dying, but because I have less of it to give. So each second means much more. So if that time is to my son to sit with him for another 10 minutes to make sure he gets his piano piece, that's me lifting it up to God. If it's another 5 minutes for me to ask that homeless guy, how was your weekend, and actually give him time and talk to him like a person, that's time back. I think when God was calling Samuel, you could take that how you want, but he just wanted him to respond and give him time. It's up to Samuel to decide how he's going to give that time. But God, all he wants is that one currency that we can never get back on our own. He could have gone back to sleep, but what he did was he was looking for who was calling him, and then he answered eventually.
It's a great answer. Thank you.
No, that's a good answer. Wow. Now that you've had some time, right? 5 years, man. That went by, huh?
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Slowest 5 years ever.
Kind of looking back, right? Like just everything you've gone through and everything with everything you've gone through. What is one thing that you've learned from this? Not only by yourself, but just in general. What have you learned from this? Or about yourself, really? What have you learned about yourself that maybe you didn't know before until you went through this? Because this is something that I don't think, God willing, like a lot of dads can go through. A lot of dads don't have this cross, but here you are picking up your cross. What is one thing that you've learned from this?
I just think the human spirit is resilient if you want it to be, because you're always gonna everyone has a reason to succeed, whether it be in life or in relationships, but you always find reasons not to. So it's kind of blocking. I found out that I'm really resilient, and it was almost, I don't want to say by accident, but it was almost automatic that like like when all you want to do is watch your kids grow up, you don't think about dying in 5 years. When all you want to do is see the world, you don't think about staying at home all day, being miserable on your machine. If you want to live, you can live. And how do you? But then when you decide to live, how are you going to live it? How are you going to spend that time? Because money you can get back, possessions you can get back, but you can't get time and you can't get relationships back when they go. When they go.
Yeah, sure.
So it all depends on how bad you want it, and I think if you just want it a little bit, you'll actually find out that you want it a lot more. When you want to be successful, like I said, success isn't always measured through your professional gains or your financial successes, but
Absolutely.
It's also in terms of how that time is spent. It's how you live your life, and I think if anything, like I'm more hungry to live life. And don't get me wrong, like every now and then you'll like, hey, let's go out on Saturday. Nah, not like ask John. John's been asking me to go out for like for weeks, and I always find a reason like. But it's legit. Like I've been cleaning the garage for a couple weeks now. I mean, it's immaculate now.
Sure.
But generally, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish.
No,
go
but
ahead.
Yeah, but generally, I'm more willing to live life and explore. Like where are we gonna go on vacation next year? What are we gonna do? Like I told our kids, if they don't clean up the house, we're not gonna see the world. It's plain and simple. So,
right.
I have that will and drive now, and it motivates me to. I used to have my own podcast a little while ago, and I was like, I want to do that again. Not necessarily the podcast, but I want to be that creative again and express myself that way. I want to accomplish my dream. So, I think now, that resiliency is starting to pay off. Like once you know that it's not going to beat you or it's not going to beat you now, that it's kind of like if you ever watched Harry Potter, it's kind of like that last brother when he was hiding from death. But then when he was ready to go, he's ready to go. So that's kind of how I feel. It's like when God wants me to come home, I will. But in the meantime, I'm going to do everything I can on his world, on his planet, and live my life to the fullest.
Yeah. No, when I first, heard about this topic because John had mentioned it, I'm like, yeah, I'm game for that. Let's do that. And I went into it thinking it was going to be like I was going to leave hearing your story like just kind of saddened, I guess is the best way to put it. But after hearing you're so upbeat and I feel more inspired than I do saddened, and I think that's a really great thing. Like you were saying, you have to choose this human spirit is triumphant, and I do feel that, and I really appreciate you just being honest and open with it, because with that honesty and just upbeat nature, I feel like I'm just super thankful, and I'm like, I need to spend time with my kids, and I really appreciate you just being like honest and just really upbeat
definitely.
about this. Like it's given me inspiration, so thank you.
No, absolutely. I mean, like you said, do I have if I had a consolation would be, cherish what you have. You don't have to deal with what I have to deal with. So those extra hours that I don't have, you use those hours, even if it's for yourself. Make yourself better somehow, or take your wife out to dinner, or take your son out hiking at Great Falls or something. Something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. My son's going crazy in the background. Last question, and I've kind of just came up with this. What are your like? I guess because we all don't know how much time we have in this world. What are your? And this is kind of a deeper question, and you don't have to get too deep in this, but what is something that you want to leave in this world? As you continue to fight this disease, but also continue to live your life.
It's kind of selfish. So, but if I did have to leave one legacy, it would just be courageous. Not because, oh, this guy was awesome because this and that, but the fact that even if at some point the disease takes me, it didn't own me. Mm-hmm. And that's the type, because everyone will die at some point. So that's inevitable. So it's what you do between you're born and the day that you take your last breath that makes a difference. So you don't have to be Martin Luther King, or you don't have to be, St. Maximilian Kolbe or anything like that. It'd be great if you could strive to be a saint. And I think we should all strive to be saints. Mm-hmm. And I think that strive and drive to be like them or to be great people is all that we could ask of ourselves. And for me, I would want to be remembered as courageous. And, oh, that guy was sick. Oh, wow. And that's all people think of me. Then in a way, that's a battle won for me, because that means that the disease did not own me. It was it happened to be a part of my life, but it did not run it.
Sure. Awesome. Derek, do you have any other questions before we kind of wrap everything up?
Perfect.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks.
Truly appreciate it. I think this will bring so much value to people, especially dads, right? Who can hear not only your story, but be inspired, like Derek was saying, to do stuff, especially with the time that you don't have, or the time that they might not be taking advantage of,
No, it's my pleasure, and I've always wanted to be a part of the show ever since I heard Derek talk about walking ponies for money.
Oh yeah, Derek, I gotta tell you the story. Like the first, so Ryan, who's I gotta say, man, so supportive of the show, and that really means a lot to me. Because to be honest with you, looking back on my life, Ryan is actually like one of the first. You were doing podcasting before podcasting was huge. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't even called podcasting when you were doing your show, right, Ryan? Like. It was like
podcast was disrespected. Like, you're not on the radio.
Yeah.
Podcasting is now the medium.
It is the medium, but that means a lot that you support the show, and I truly appreciate it. So thank you.
No, you guys are doing great. You guys are doing a great thing too. So props to you guys.
Thanks, man.
All right. Before we end the show, we want to get to some housekeeping things. Derek, what are some things on the docket that we have?
All right. So what we got, man? We got those fantasy football.
Yes, we got to start soon. Open.
And yeah, we're gonna be, because I'd like to do the draft probably like maybe right at the end of August or beginning of September. So if you're interested at all, send us a message in any format, and we'd love to have you on. We'll try to get as many people as we can in there. Or if there's not enough, maybe you're already involved in a league. That's fine. But we want to just give this opportunity for some dads to just have some fun. Clash on the fantasy football field, and we'll have some kind of award out there. Yeah. It'll be worth winning.
Something.
Send us any kind of like, hey, I'm game for it. I'm down, and we'll get that going either on ESPN or Yahoo.
That reminds me, quick 1-minute question, because I have Ryan on the podcast, and Ryan's a huge sports guy, just like I am. Ryan, in 1 minute, how are the Redskins going to do this season? Because he's a huge Redskins fan. What do they have? How about this? What do they have to do to succeed this year? They gotta run the ball. No, I'm kidding.
No, our defensive line has to step it up. Give our secondary some time. I think our offense will be fine. I think what we're seeing is just because Jake Gruden is in a very he's a very players coach, so their practices are kind of weak. So we might start. I think we'll beat the Eagles first week. I mean, we need to start 2-1. I think for us to
set up for the season.
Yeah, I think what we need is we need for the Giants to be a bust, and I think
he doesn't want to jinx himself. That's what it is.
It's like we need Dak to regress. That's what we need.
Sure.
We need like Ezekiel Elliott to get on tape doing something.
It was really funny. At our baptism party that we had, I realized that. Because I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, in my house, I had a fan of each team that beat the Bills in the Super Bowl. We had Redskin representatives, we had Giants representatives, we had Cowboy representatives.
No Eagles, right? Because
Eagles. Eagles have never beat the Bills in the Super Bowl. So I was like, wow, I'm surrounded by enemies and friends at the same time. Sure. It was really fantastic. Sure.
It's not really enemies; it's like ownership.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. If you had a Patriots fan, though, that would be a different story.
Yeah. And our next, that's why we have 0 Patriot fans in our home. No, I love them. They're usually smart, intelligent, really nice people, always winners. I'm sick of it.
We all are, actually, to be honest with you.
They're everything. Bad Catholic Dads Squared. Our episode 4 is going to be on video games. John, what game are we going to be playing and reviewing?
We're going to be playing Valiant Hearts, which is it's a pretty quick game. I think it might be only like 2 hours long, but it's basically a game on set in World War I, but it has themes of depression and it has themes of war and violence and stuff like that.
It's great.
So definitely check it out, especially in today's society, right?
I think fatherhood is also an element in that as well. So
I didn't even know that. It's even a bonus.
Yeah.
By the way, we are running a Wonder Woman giveaway. So if you leave us a review, you can enter it 2 ways. So it's due by next week, I believe, next Tuesday or something. If you leave us a review on iTunes, you get automatically entered into the giveaway. If you've already left us a review, then you're already entered. Or you can be a $2 patron on our Patreon, patreon.com/badcatholicdads, and you automatically get into that drawing. So we're going to do a drawing, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be the day before it actually comes out, and then we'll send it to you on digital release, I believe it's called, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned to our Patreon. Our Patreon's going to get updated, I think, by September. I'm hoping. I'm just working on a bunch of like things for the rewards, so check out our Patreon, of course. And we're going to shout-outs, Derek. Do you have any shout-outs this week? I don't know if you had some. I put some on.
Honestly, my main shout-out is to everyone that was for our Isaac's baptism.
Oh, nice.
As I was laying in my bed reflecting on the day, I recognized that it was probably in my top 5 days that I've ever lived from start to finish.
Oh, wow.
Where I'm like, that
That's
was
awesome.
almost that was like a beautiful day for everything, every little thing that happened.
Sure.
So a shout out to everyone that was a part of that day, because it was honestly one of my favorite days that I've ever lived.
That's awesome, man. My shout out, I have a couple shout outs. I got one from social media. A person on SoundCloud. You know, it's funny because when you have SoundCloud, Derek, a lot of it's like spam messages.
Yeah.
So you're just like, oh, whatever. So I thought this was a spam message, but then I actually read it. I was like, oh, they're actually talking to us. So this is at Smiley with an extra E on the end on SoundCloud, and he or she didn't finish their message. I think I got cut off, but I'll just read what they have. It says, "Hi, Bad Catholic Dads. You two to make a great team." It's kind of like a review. Great to hear nice reviews on homeschooling, public school, and Catholic schooling. Since I am partial to homeschooling, I just want to add that the most Catholic homeschooling families strive to have their school focused on Christ. My memory of being reminded of that by Derek was when I was frustrated that not much schoolwork or no schoolwork was done that day. I was reminded by him that what I would say that the most important work we need to accomplish was in our prayers. I learned that God speaks through our children. Keep up the godly work, basically. So, Thank you, Smiley.
Sounds like a mom.
It sounds like a mom. So, yeah, that's awesome. I want to shout out all our new followers. We've been getting a lot of new followers on Facebook, especially. So, thank you to our new followers who are here. And last but not least, I want to shout out our newest patrons. So my brother, Jarl, who's actually in Albania right now, which is really funny, he finally became a patron. So that was really nice of him. That was totally like unexpected, to be honest with you. And we got a new patron, Kevin Kennel. Kennel. So thank you guys for your patrons. Like, honestly, you guys make this show run, to be honest, like hosting this, paying for the hosting. And then today I bought a new mic and like a bunch of different equipment that you guys helped us buy. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You need to keep up with the vlogs.
Yeah, got to get the vlogs done. Prayer request. Any prayer requests you guys have? I'll just be short and sweet. Mine's for continued prayers for teachers, but especially my friend, my coworker, Maggie Carroll. They found out that their dad has cancer, and so he was just in surgery today to remove the tumor. So prayers out to her, and her family.
My prayer request is just for my sister who started she starts her first day of college at Christendom tomorrow.
Ooh, nice. Ryan, do you have any prayer requests?
For all the people that are out without shelter and it's really hot outside.
Yeah, sure. No new iTunes reviews this week. Please leave us for iTunes review. You can win one room if you want. So leave us a review. You can find us on iTunes for that review. I did want to say one more thing. You can follow us on iOS, our podcast on iOS, SoundCloud, Google Play, our YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter. You can follow me, or you can follow Bad Catholic Dads at Bad Catholic Dads. You can follow me at John Perez A, and you can follow Derek Rogers at the Derek Rogers, Derek, right?
The Derek Rogers.
THE.
Yeah. What about Ryan? Where can we find?
Yeah, Ryan. Where can you find you? Where can we find you?
It's okay.
Okay, so no. But I do want to ask if people want to learn more about your kidney disease or just kidney disease in general, like where can people look that stuff up, or where can people support you or support anything that you're trying to advocate for?
That's a great question. I'm not doing anything right now for myself, but if you want to go to nefcure.org, they're great people. I've worked with them before. They'll teach you all about the different types of kidney disease. There's more than one. Actually, there's 7,000 versions of the disease that I have, and 6,000 of them don't have a cure, and I'm one of those 6,000. So yeah, keep us in your prayers and check us out.
Okay, cool. That's at nef what?
Nefcure.org.
Nefcure.org. So check that out and support, and just be aware. I think one of the most personally, I think one of the most valuable things you can get from anything is just educate yourself and just be aware. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, please, we're starting this new campaign. If you tweet at us, it's hashtag Bad Catholic Dads, hashtag BCD, hashtag 44%, right, Derek?
44%. I gotta get that jersey number.
44. And last but not least, you can follow us on Instagram. Same thing. If you're going to Instagram us, use those hashtags, and then of course follow us on Patreon. But other than that, Derek, that has been episode 23 of the Bad Catholic Dads podcast. And until next week, we'll see you. We'll see you next week. So
see you, Derek.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah,
we'll get you with the pony walking sometime.
All right, you bet.